Interestingly, a book can be called a decodable book, but if a child has not been taught or has not learned the letter sounds and tricky words in that book, then it is not decodable for that child. There are differing opinions about when to start decodable readers, and there are advantages and disadvantages about the slightly different approaches. These differences are not serious problems so long as the basic principles are followed, namely that the children are taught the letter sounds and tricky words that are used in the books. And you will have noticed in Jolly Phonics and on this website that we prefer to wait until the 42 letter sounds have been taught, and our reasons were as follows. The 42 letter sounds cover one way of writing the main sounds of English, which gives an overall understanding of how the main sounds linked in speech can be represented by letters. It also enables a greater variety of words to be used in the first books, which means that more interesting stories can be written and read by the children. And here is the word bank, and you can see that with only 6 letter sounds, very few words are available, but with 42, you get pages of words that can be used. In fact, hundreds of words, all the way up to here. So you have much more chance of getting a good story. Ideally, children should not be asked to read books until they have the necessary skill of blending and know sufficient letter sounds. It is asking for trouble to start before a child has enough basic knowledge and skills. Now, by delaying with the readers until all 42 letter sounds have been taught, the slow-to-start children have more chance of developing the skill of blending and learning the letter sounds. Then they, too, would be able to take home books at the same time as the other children. And for these children, it would be more sensible to give them decodable readers that are simple and have large print, such as these books. And lastly, from a purely practical point of view, once the children are given books to read at home, it takes a great deal of time for teachers to listen and check on their reading, change the books and record what has been read. So my preference is to spend longer making sure the letter sounds and blending skills are being mastered before making a start on reading books for the children to take home to read to their parents or guardians. Once the books go home, then there is pressure on the children to accurately read them. Now, some writers of decodable books prefer the children to have access to reading books as soon as 6 letter sounds have been taught. It can be done, as with these books. Nevertheless, these restrictions come with some snags. It is impossible to have natural-sounding text with words made up of only 6 letter sounds. The vocabulary is limited and the language is extremely stilted. And this may well put some children off reading, especially the more able children who have an advanced vocabulary and are used to having exciting stories read to them at home. This does not mean that these books are not useful. They are particularly valuable for children who are much slower to learn the letter sounds and who need short, simple words for practicing the letter sounds and developing the skill of blending. The crucial aspect is to know if the books are decodable for each child and whether they are suitable for him or her. We know many children are perfectly able to learn to read without decodable readers. These children memorize the letter sounds easily and usually have no problems with blending words or hearing the sounds in words. However, a few of them can run into difficulties if they start memorizing words rather than decoding them. They appear to be good readers until the books have many more words on each page and the memory runs out. Then they struggle a great deal because they've not developed the decoding skills to help them work out the new, more complicated words. Therefore, I think it is safer to start all children off with decodable books. The more able children will be quickly through them and during that time will have developed the skills needed for working out the advanced multi-syllable words that will be in the books that they want to read. In order to become a good reader, it is not only necessary to have good decoding skills, but also good language skills and a wide vocabulary. The latter enables the children to understand what they are reading. Now, a wide vocabulary becomes even more important when the children are good at decoding words and have become free readers. Now they will be reading books that use more complex words that do not always give a reliable pronunciation. And there are hundreds of examples. So let's just look at a few of them. Here we have the word mode. It is a straightforward magic E word. The second vowel influences the first vowel and changes the O to O. This guidance also works well for words that have a suffix, like ing and ed added, as explained in step 5, but it is not reliable with some nouns. So, with this being mode, you would expect this word to be modal, but it isn't. It is modal, and this one is modal. Now, the children who are used to trying the short vowel, if the blending with the long vowel doesn't make sense, have few problems with adjusting to the correct pronunciation, so long as the word is in their vocabulary and it makes sense as they are reading. Now, you would think that this word would be wagon, as this one is bacon, but it isn't, it's wagon. And this one, most children would go deb ate. And another adjustment is needed to get debate. And lastly, with this short word, you would think this would be diet because the IE has an I sound. But in fact, it is the two-syllable word diet, and each vowel is saying its own sound. So the children need to adjust the vowels to find the correct pronunciation. Jennifer Chu, who is a synthetic phonics expert, calls this tweaking. While children are on decodable readers, they are shielded from these awkward words. Once they are confident readers, they easily tweak the words, so long as they are in their vocabulary.